conversation. So we have a back and forth. I'll wait a couple more minutes because my shit is not together. What's up, Blue Bread? You in them streets? I'm sure. Thanks for joining me, though. I appreciate you coming. So yeah, we're going to talk about parenting, parenthood, parent shit. Not everything, because, if you're a parent, then there's tons of shit that could be discussed, right? And we have a limited amount of time, so we won't talk about every single thing, right? But we'll talk about plenty. Oh, shoot. I forgot my beverage. Damn it. I'm sitting here thirsty. Literally, not figuratively. Fucking A. Damn it. Well, I'm not going to get up and get it, so I'll be thirsty. Let's go. I mean, I'm not blaming parenting for being late, but I'm regularly doing mom shit. So I'm not as gathered today as I should be. But it's no matter. Okay, so we're like 2 and some change after. So we'll get started. If you're joining me live, I appreciate it. If you watch later, I appreciate that too. So thanks for joining, Airing It Out with Ariel. And this is our number 3 podcast. And I'm excited that I made it to number 3. And I'm geeked to keep going. I've got other things going on with Goldface Family that I'm super excited about this week, specifically coming up and in the next coming weeks. But I'm super excited and proud of myself that I'm on episode 3. And hopefully you all are watching or just even listening passively, but hopefully you're enjoying them. What you do like, let me know. And what you don't like I told you in the first podcast, be constructively, have constructive critiques, right? Don't just talk about the shit you don't like and don't have anything to offer. But yeah, if you like it, let me know. And if you think that there's something that I'm missing, then let me know that too. That way I can give you everything that you feel like you could or should be getting out of this podcast. Because, it's the learning experience for me and hopefully you too. So last week, my question that I pulled for parenting and parenthood, my yes or no question was, do I spoil my child? And my yes or no answer was yes. And I say that because I only have one kid. So for me, I feel like it's a little bit easier than it would be somebody who has, 3 or 4 kids. So for me, my short answer was yes. And also for not just because I only have one child, but also because I'm a single parent. So I feel like I feel an obligation to do more because I have to be the good guy and the bad guy. So for me, I feel like there's a little bit of an obligation to do more. So I do feel like compared to what I had, yes, I do spoil my child. Do I think that that's right? Not necessarily, but I think spoiling is also subjective because what I would consider spoiling, other people would be like, oh, that's the norm. And other people would be like, hell no, that they can get a piece of candy, right? That's a spoil. So it's just really up to you. So that was my intro to this week's topic of parenting. And obviously for me, and I'd say I think probably for many of us, our first experience or our first observation of parenting or parental relationship is that, ourselves with our parent, our mother or father, or whoever it is that takes care of us when we're an infant. And so, obviously, observing my parents as a child is where I, learned my tools and techniques, so to speak, about being a parent. And I would say that those examples are both good and bad, um, and good and bad things from my mother and my father. And I would say probably most in the forefront of my mind about parenting is my immense love that I have for my father. But then also having, as a child, having this uh, deadly or deathly fear of him, because of some of the actions that he did when we were young children. Also, based on the parenting that I had, it also affected my either desire or later change desire to have a big family. And also my sort of steadfast mindset about marriage before children. And then the lessons that I've learned, like I said, from the childhood trauma, how that, impacts and shapes my parenting style. And it greatly impacts my views on parenting, like what type of shit I just can't tolerate as a parent, because I know how devastating and impactful it can be on a child. Long past, being a 10 or 12-year-old, or even being a teenager, going into your adult life, things that your parents do can really afflict you later on. So having those examples, good and bad, from my mother and my father really shaped how I choose to be a parent, the shit that I do and don't do, the things that I do and don't like, the advice that I do and I don't take, is really shaped by what my relationship was like with my parents and how they interacted with each other and how they interacted with me. Um, I'll also say this, I never thought about it being young, but being older and being more mature, I regularly think about um, how lifelong the position of being a parent is, because my mom is, I won't say how old she is because she'll be pissed, but my mom um, is is at a senior citizen age, I'll put it that way, and she is still a mom. Um, she just recently lost one of her children, but she still has multiple children, and many grandchildren, and even great grandchildren. And so her role as a mom really, I don't feel like, has really changed, because that same sort of, not the same dependence, but yeah, that dependence, that still call on, that still looking, that still, that guidance that you look for, that is still very much her job. When shit's hitting the fan and we want to know how do we deal with X, that's our go-to. So I always think about that, like, damn, it doesn't matter how old she gets or even how old I get. She's going to be that for me, and I'm going to be that for my son. And, it's like forever you have to have, the answers, right? So that lifelong position of being a parent, I feel like there's a lot that goes into it, because um, whether you lose your child before you pass away, or whether your child, whether you die before your children, your position that you hold as a parent, I don't think really changes. And so that can be good and bad depending on how active or not active you are in your children's lives. And the other thing, like I was saying, is that relationship, the parent-child relationship, changes drastically. I would never have pictured the type of relationship that me and my mother have now. I would have never pictured that as a child. Um, I don't even think as a child I ever even thought about what the hell I would be like as an adult and how the hell I would interact with my mother. But I will definitely say that the relationship that we have now is much different than my relationship with her as a child. And I feel as an adult and as a mom myself, I feel more empowered to tell her how I feel because I feel like I know as a mom certain shit. So I feel like when she tells me something that I feel like I know isn't right, I feel empowered by also being a mother that I can say, that's not the case, or that's not my experience, or okay, well, I can appreciate that this is what you think, but I'm not going with that because, this is my child and, this is my perspective and my way of thinking about this particular situation. But I definitely, as an adult, feel like the dynamic between me and my mother has changed, and part of that is due to the fact that I'm also a mother. So I feel more empowered to challenge some of the things that she's done as a parent because I know how her parenting has afflicted me and my siblings, and not just her, obviously, because she doesn't make babies by her damn self. But also, I would even say her decisions, her parenting decisions, I've even said something to her about as an adult. I've had a conversation with her like, why would you have children with my father? Knowing the things that I know now about him, I feel like, why the hell would you have kids with him? You know what I'm saying? Knowing the type of guy he was, why would you make that type of decision? And then after having one kid, then why would you make a parenting decision to have another, child with with the kind of person that he was? But those are conversations that I would have never had or said to my mother as a child, that as an adult and as a parent myself. And because her and I's relationship has evolved, I feel much more comfortable questioning her about and just trying to get a better understanding of why she made those decisions, because I've also made really poor decisions. So it helps me to understand why she did those things, because then I can understand maybe a little bit of why I may have done some really dumb shit that, wasn't the best parental decision. But I'll also say this, that I wouldn't say that my mother is my friend. And I'm also a firm believer in that. Um, I'm not my child's friend, because the dynamic and the passion that I have for my child is not that of that I would have with a friend or towards a friend. And I would say that even when my child's grown, I don't see us being friends, because I'm always going to take my position as a parent, um, put it in the forefront of everything else. And as a friend, you kind of as a friend, you let your friends do dumb shit. But as a parent, you, you deter your child from doing dumb shit. And you don't, you don't, you don't join in, right? You don't become a party in your child's, you don't contribute to your child's fucking delinquency. So as a friend, yeah, you're going to do the same dumb shit as your friend. But as a parent, I feel like it's my responsibility to always take a superior position and a superior interest in my child, and always make sure that the position that I take with him and about him um, is from a place of his best interest, and not anything else, just in his best interest. Because for me, there's no greater honor and there's no higher duty than being a parent, quite frankly, because it's a lifelong position. And I'll also say, because of the unconditional love, that your child has for you, and the unconditional love that typically you're going to have for your parent, and I have for my mother, is, I feel like, something that you really only get from a parent-child relationship. That love, that it's literally like, no matter how trash you are, this person is going to love you, and that's a different type of love than loving your friends, loving a guy, loving a girl, loving a sibling. Loving your parent and your um, loving your parent and your parent loving you, it's a different type of love, because it's a different level of sacrifice. I feel like, personally, for me, it's definitely a different level of love, and it's a different level of sacrifice, and it's a lifelong relationship both ways. Me and my mother, and me and my child. So I'm an extension of her, and he's an extension of me. And that's something that, as a parent, no one can ever take from you, which is why it's such a great duty to me, because he is an extension of me. And it's my honor to be his mother. And quite frankly, it's an honor to be a mother, because not all individuals get the opportunity to be a mother. Not all individuals get the opportunity to be a parent. So I feel like it is an honor to be his parent, and to be a parent, period. But I will say, in being a parent, the shit's not easy. Obviously, it has challenges, and I've made my share of parental or parenting mistakes, whether it be us moving a lot because I've, wanted to try out different opportunities or go different places, or whether it's, what I would consider a parenting mistake in not having another child sooner, so that my son would have a sibling. Um, I grew up in a family, my mom had 5 kids, so I don't know what it's like to not have a sibling. I feel bad for my son because he's an only child sometimes, because, there isn't that camaraderie that you have with a sibling. So for me, I feel like, I fucked up in that I should have, um, perhaps had another child, so that he would have someone to, um, just to interact with, but that also, would understand, what it's like to, to live, in a home with a mom. I mean, just, whatever, what it means to have a sibling. He doesn't know. He knows what it's like to have cousins around, but he doesn't know what it's like to, live with a baby or another sibling day in and day out, day in and day out, and not just sharing your things, but also sharing your parent, and things like that, and being, having to help someone that's smaller than, him out regularly, having to be that, bigger brother and protector and all that. He doesn't know what that's like. So I feel like, as a parent, that's a mistake that I made. Because if I do have a kid, they'll be hella years apart and that shit. I think anybody who has like this 10-year gap between them and their other sibling, there's like sometimes there's a fucking just a disconnect because they just can't fathom the shit that each other is doing or interested in because there's such a gap. Um, but hopefully, you know, God willing, I'll have another kid and he'll just be a teenage big brother or some shit, or or he'll just get to tell the story of the kid, who was an only child. But that's a mistake. That's something that I feel like was a mistake. But with the mistakes, I also, I'm also careful to recognize achievements because they can seem like they're few and far between. But for me, because my son can be so picky and that can be such a parental challenge for me, achievement for me could be he tried some shit like liver, right? Or he, killed a plate of vegetables. You know what I'm saying? And I say even take your small achievements when it comes to parenting as well, because you can't count on, momentous, um, momentous gains, right? But you can count on like the little victories. When your child is a picky eater and they eat some crazy wild shit that just happens to be healthy, and you're really excited that they didn't spaz the fuck out when you gave them this item. So take the little achievements as well. And I'll say another thing that will help you see an achievement, or that I feel like helped me, was getting involved in my child's school. As a kid, I don't ever remember my mom coming up to my school. I mean, unless somebody was cutting up, and it wasn't me. Unless somebody was cutting up, she just wasn't up there. So, I don't remember her coming to like my class or volunteering. And when my son started school, I was like, you know what? First of all, I'm nosy. And second of all, I want to know what they're doing in here. Because I don't remember kindergarten. I don't remember first grade. Yeah, I do. I remember first grade. But I just want to know what they're in class doing. I want to see what's going on, who's doing what. Does she got control? Are these kids buck ass wild? Like, I want to know what's going on. I want to know what it looks like where he spends all his time all day. And so I feel like being involved in your kids' school makes a huge difference in how and what type of education they receive, or at least the type of interaction that they receive with their teacher and their peers. Because when I feel like when your face is familiar, people they know that you'll pull up, and so I feel like they modify their behavior because they know that you're a frequent visitor or you're a frequent interactor, and then therefore they interact with your kid like they know that you volunteer. They know that, I'm saying, you're on the PTA, or you help coach, this or that team at the school. Because they know that shit, they modify, I feel like they modify how they interact with your child. And it could, help with your child's grades, and it can help with the support that your kid receives at the school. So I would say that being involved in your kid's school is one thing that I didn't get as a child, but as a parent, for sure, is something that I do. I feel like it's my duty to do it, because I'll tell y'all this: you'd be surprised how many fucking big ass decisions are made for your kids at your kids' school by a handful of fucking people, and it's not a handful of like administrators. It'd be a handful of fucking parents that will make a decision about what you and your child have to do during the school year. So I would encourage you, if you can't be at every meeting, try to get involved in some type of way so that you get the skinny on shit before other people do, so that you know what the fuck is going on. And, if you can get on some type of committee or something, then you can advocate for the things that your child needs. And that's, one way to help make sure that your kid gets a better education is if you're involved, then you can always make sure that you're advocating for your child to, you're advocating for something that your child is interested in, and in that way they get their needs met. Because I'll say this, as a parent, you're your child's biggest advocate, and you're going to constantly have to advocate for them. And I'll say that especially as a golden individual, you're regularly going to have to advocate for your son or your daughter. And so because you're their greatest advocate, it's best that you are involved in school, in your child's school. That way you know what type of shit they do that they don't send a letter home about, but you'll know about it because you'll be other night on the campus. So you'll hear people talking, and that's probably, being on campus is a little bit more applicable in the past than now, but hopefully soon, if you can get on campus, and if you can't, then attend a damn Zoom meeting and listen passively so you can hear what the hell is going on. So, another thing I'll say, most important thing that I will say about being a parent, or my parenthood and my parental journey, has been the shit that I've learned from other parents. I've learned a whole bunch of shit from just watching and listening to other people, other parents, really, the mistakes that they make and the things that they did that really helped their children out. I appreciate both things, especially when it comes to, children that aren't cookie cutter. I feel like back in the day when I was a kid, it was all the kids did the same thing. And if you were different, it didn't matter. You was going to do the same thing as everybody else. But now I can't parent like that. I can't parent my child the way parenting was, 25, 30 years ago. So I like to listen to other people's journeys that are similar. I feel like have, some applicability or some relatability to my life, and something that I may have also found challenging about my parenting journey, and just listen to things that they have done that may have helped them. And sometimes they are really insightful. And sometimes I just know that shit's not going to work for us. But I've learned a lot just by watching other people's parenting and their parent styles. And, I'll say my sister is one person that I learned a lot from. Her children are only 5 months older than my son, but I learned a lot from my little sister about being a mom and what is good mom shit, and what I would say is, I wouldn't say not good mom shit, but just what's really good mom shit to do that I really didn't even fucking think about, or just didn't put that much thought into. But I really learned a lot from my sister's parenting style. I've learned plenty from a foster home that I was in, about, being a parent and that stability and consistency. So I've just learned a lot by watching other parents and not having to make the same mistakes that they did, because I've watched them go through it, so I can avoid those same mistakes so that I don't have those hardships. But I do want to talk about my Twitter poll questions this week. So I did two things, or several things actually. I started out with like 2 or 3 Twitter poll questions. And then I decided, fuck that. I need to pose more questions throughout the week. Well, actually, no, I need to pose more questions, period, so that I can really gauge, get a really good kind of picture of what you all felt about parenting and parenthood and parent shit. And so, and then I also put a poll on Instagram, but I fucked that up. So I'm gonna get it right this week coming up, and so you all participate in that one. But if you don't want to participate in the Instagram one, I'm not really crazy about Instagram polls. But the Twitter poll, get a fucking Twitter. It's really simple. Get a Twitter, okay, and then go and go to our Twitter page, please, throughout the week, because it'll be there from Monday through really Sunday afternoon. And I'm going to post multiple poll questions related to that week's topic. So this week's topic obviously was parenting, parenthood, parent shit. And one of the poll questions that I posed was, do two-parent households raise better children than single-parent households? And 57% of you all answered no, and 43 answered yes. And I would tend to agree with the majority in that two-parent households don't necessarily raise better children than single-parent households, because we all know somebody who had two parents in the home, whether they were married or just together for 20 plus damn years in the home together, raising their kids, and one or two of their kids are trash, right? So that is not a true statement. And every child that was raised by a single parent is not a loser, because we know obviously plenty of people that are millionaires and so on, super successful. Put it that way. They're super successful and they were raised by a single parent, whether that's a single mom, dad, granny, whatever. So I agree with the majority in that having two parents in the home does not, equal a better child. And I'll also say this, just because you have two parents in the home, if your two parents in the home kick each other's ass every fucking day, or, one's an asshole and the other one's scared to leave, just because the two of them are there together doesn't mean that shit is good for the kids. Sometimes it's better for that shit to end and for people to separate, and for your children to grow up in a house full of fucking toxic energy, because that shit can be more harmful than good. And people be thinking, oh, we're staying together for the sake of the kids. And the kids are thinking, I wish I would break the fuck up so that we could have some peace. But, think about it, right? Think about it. If your shit, if you might be better off. Oh, hell. Okay, my other question was, do you model the behavior you want your children to exhibit? And I feel like so the 57% of you all said yes. 43% said no. And honestly, I'm a smidge shocked, because I'm glad, because I feel like that's an honest. No, I feel like it's probably not honest, because I'm a little shocked that only 57% of people said yes, I exhibit the behavior that I want I model the behavior that I want my child to exhibit. But I would expect more people to say, yes, I do model the behavior I want my child to exhibit. But I think it's honest that 43% said no, I'd be doing shit that I ain't got no business. And honestly, I feel like that's more of the honest answer is no, I do plenty of shit that I don't want my child to do, because I think that that's a lot of us do, right? Whether it's how we talk to other people, whether it's our whether it's our work style, whether it's our relationship, how we are in relationships, if our child did the same shit that we did, we would probably be like, no, you need to, modify your behavior. Or why are you doing that? Is more like the shit that we would say to our kids if they did the shit that we do. We would probably, ask them why they're engaging in such behavior. But I feel like, more honest is that, we don't model the behavior we want our kids to exhibit. But 57% of y'all say yes. Yes, I do model the behavior I want my child to exhibit. So another good question that I thought about and that I think about as a fucking adult, but then I also think about it. I think about it as an adult that, my parent is close, living in close quarters. But then I think about how I am toward my son. And so the question is, do you respect your child's privacy? 57% of people said yes, and 43% of people said no. Okay, first of all, I don't know what the fuck people look like who take the poll, and I don't really give a shit. But I say, hell no, okay? I don't respect my child's privacy. Why? Because first of all, he's not really old to have much privacy. The privacy that you get really as a child from a parent is usually going to be limited to the bathroom when you're using it, right? Everything else is kind of fair game because you don't pay for shit. So whether it's you fucking thinking you can close a door or write some shit down and have it hidden or have a phone with the passcode on it, it really doesn't fucking matter. For me, as a parent, you don't own shit to have private. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, oh, it's about respect. Fuck that. It's about, I'm the fucking parent. And in order for me to make sure that you're safe, I have to invade your shit. Because if I don't, then I leave it up to you to decide whether or not the shit that you're engaging in is appropriate or not. And I can't have that. So for me, I can't respect a child's privacy, especially if I'm responsible for the fucking child. Because how do I know, what's what if I don't get in your shit? And I'm just not going to ask a fucking child, are you doing the right things? Have you done this bad thing? I'm not going to fucking depend on them to give me an honest answer. Even if they're honest, I'm not going to depend on that shit. I want to know for myself. So, 57% of y'all are nice as fuck. Seeing as that you probably pay for a whole bunch of shit and you're respecting your child's privacy. So, but the 43% of y'all said that's going to be a hot negative. I feel you. So another question that I asked was, what is more important as a parent? Obedience of your child or quality of relationship? And 33% of people said obedience of their child, and 67% of people said quality of relationship. And I really thought that was interesting. I thought more people would want obedient children, but no, they wanted a quality relationship with their child. And I will say this, as a golden gal with a golden son, I can't afford to not have a child that's not obedient. Because most basically, when I tell him to fucking do something, I need him to do it. I don't need him to give me 20 fucking questions, to ask me why, to want an explanation. When I say move, that's what the fuck I want to happen. So as a golden girl, I can't afford it with a golden son. I cannot afford to not have a child that's obedient. He cannot afford to not be obedient and to listen to the shit that his mom has said to him. So for me, as a gold parent with a golden child, I feel like what's most important to me is to have an obedient child. But the majority of the people that took the poll felt like quality of relationship. And I feel like a quality relationship is important, absolutely. But that can also be a privilege, because when you are a single parent, or you're a single parent of one kid, or you could be a single parent of a fucking boatload of kids, you may not have the time to have that quality of relationship, but you absolutely need to have obedient children. So, from my perspective, that obedient child is most important to me as a parent. So that was interesting. That was an interesting response, I thought. Percentage response, I thought, to that. Um, Another one that actually was a little surprising was, do you lie to your children? And 100% of the response was yes. 100% of people say, yes, I lied to my kids. And I feel like that is not only an honest answer, but it's the right answer. Because you cannot tell your kids all the truth, right? Probably most basically because they can't fucking handle it. So you can't tell your kid, all the true facts, right? You gotta parse that shit out. And for sure, I would say, like, I lie to my son, but I don't lie to him about important shit. I lie to him about like frivolous bullshit, like, I don't know, something that's really fucking frivolous that he may ask me for, and I'm just like, that shit. So, I may tell a tall tale or like put a 10 on some shit just to get him to do something. But I never lie about anything. I'm saying that's important, because one thing I also feel like as a parent is I like to be really honest with my kid, with my son, about important shit, because I want him to get it. Like, if it's something serious and I want him to really understand that the shit I'm talking about is serious, um, then, I make sure that I'm being very honest and frank, and I let him know, like, shit's not a game and you better take the shit seriously. But if it's some old frivolous bullshit, then, I'll just put a 10 on some shit and just exaggerate it. And that way, he believes it. But nothing too terrible. My other question was, do you have a favorite child? And 100% of you liars said no. And I say that because look, folks, my mom had 5 fucking kids. And guess what? I bet every single one of us knows exactly who her favorite kid is. If we ask her, she'll say, I love all my kids. Yeah, sure, Jan. Okay? That's what every fucking parent is supposed to say. Period. That's your fucking job, is to say, I love all my kids the same. That's a fucking lie. Period. You know who you should ask? Ask your other fucking kids, or ask all your kids who they think your favorite kid is. And that's going to be your fucking answer. Okay? Period. If I ask my mom, I love all you guys the same. That's a lie. It's a lie. We all know who her favorite kid is because we can fucking tell, So if you're the parent who thinks, right, that your kids don't know who your favorite kid is, you're fucking fooling yourself. They all know, and they may not say shit because they just may be thinking to themselves. Like, if they're not the favorite, they could be thinking, I don't know why that kid's her favorite. He's a fucking dummy, He be fucking shit up left and right. So, hey, Niche, I don't know why that's her favorite, But on the other hand, if you are the favorite kid, then you feel like, yeah, I'm special. There's something special about me. And then, therefore, yay for you. But yay, if you have, multiple kids, and you're, lying, right, to folks, saying you don't have a favorite, Trust me, those kids know that you have a fucking favorite, and they know if it's not them. Okay? And I know I'm not my mom's favorite child. But I know who is. And that shit doesn't bother me either. Like, if that kid was winning, then I'd be like, okay, all right, it's whatever. But when that kid's a fucking shit stain, it just makes it easier for that to be her favorite. So I don't give a shit. But yeah, 100% of you said you don't have a favorite child. And then the other question that I asked, and this is the last one that I asked was, do you have different dating requirements for your teenage son versus your teenage daughter? And 25% of y'all said yes, and 75% of you guys said no. And I feel like that's also a lie, right? Because maybe it's consciously or subconsciously, good and fucking well, you won't allow your daughter to do the same shit that you would allow your son to do, right? If you knew your son had, 2 or 3 gals he was entertaining, you'd probably be like, oh, that's so great. I'm so glad you have options. But if your daughter said she was entertaining 3 fucking high school guys, you'd be like, okay, slow down there, Sally. You're doing a little much, and you need to bring it on in. You're not gonna let your fucking daughter cut up in dating the same way that you would allow your male son to cut up. And I know that if I had a daughter, I wouldn't let her do the same shit that I would let my son do, most basically because there's a lot of shit that I know my son is just not finna do just because of his personality. But a female child, I mean, it don't even have to be her fucking personality, because that guy could be, something the fuck else. So it don't even have to be what the fuck she like. It could be whatever the fuck he's into. And then she'd be, subjected to his bullshit. So, no. But that's what y'all fucking claim. So 25% y'all claim y'all let y'all daughter do the same shit that y'all let y'all son. I think your daughter would probably disagree, but that's that. So really quickly, my parenting what the fucks. Okay, so a couple of my parenting what the fucks is smoking weed with your kids. Okay, and this is like a twofer. All right, one. As a parent, I feel like that shit is whole ass wrong to be smoking weed with your kid when your kid's a kid. On the other hand, when we're talking about, parents that smoke with their adult children, I feel like I wouldn't do that shit, but I could see how other people could do that shit. Like, would I, what I'm saying, engage in adult behavior with my friend's mom? Sure. But would I want my friends engaging in adult shit with my mom? Hell no. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like smoking pot with your motherfucking underage kids, that's a motherfucking no-no. And I hope y'all don't be doing that shit. The other parental what the fuck is, how old is too young for a cell phone? And you assholes who have, 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds walking around with a whole ass fucking cell phone, for fucking what? They can barely hold a fucking conversation. They can't wipe their fucking ass. And yet you think they need $5, $6, $7, $8,000 fucking phone for fucking what? To walk around and lose somewhere because that's the only fucking thing that happens. Or the shit get broken, or they be on there talking to some other grown ass person that they have no business talking to. So that's something that I fucking hate seeing, is some young asshole walking around who's like 8 with a whole ass cell phone. That shit gets on my nerves. There's one I didn't put on here, is the people who walk around. I haven't seen this in a really long time, but motherfuckers who walk around with their kid on dog leashes. That shit is so disrespectful to your kid. That shit is so fucked up, to put your kid on a leash and be dragging their ass around the grocery store or around the mall. I would be embarrassed as fuck if I had to put my kid on a leash and walk them like a fucking dog. I think that shit is fucked up. That shit is disrespectful. So if you got a leash for your child, throw that shit in the garbage and grab your child's hand and walk through the fucking store. But don't be putting no leash, on your child and walking them like you would Scooby Doo. That shit is foul. And other people really be laughing at you for doing that shit. So stop fucking doing it. And probably unpopular with some folks, but popular with others, I would say from a parenting perspective, is child support. If you are a fucking receiver of motherfucking child support, I'll say this. Be reasonable based on what your pockets can do solo. Meaning, if you feel like this motherfucker should pay you $5,000 a month for your 1 or 2 kids, then I say look at it like this. Could you fucking provide $5,000 a month to take care of them kids? And if you can't, then why do you want him to? And if you can, then he need to ante up. The other part of that is I'll say this. If you are the fucking payer of child support, stop fucking thinking that you can parent, take care of, provide for your fucking kids off a couple $100 fucking a month. As a parent, no one should have to ask you to take care of your motherfucking kids. You should know because you need it for your fucking self that your child also needs room and board. They need motherfucking food. They need fucking transportation. They need electricity. They need water. All the same shit you need, they need. So as a fucking parent, it's your job that if you don't provide that shit for them day in and day out, that you make sure that there are some fucking resources there for those things to be provided for them. But if you think your little measly ass, $200-$300 in America is taking care of some kid, your ass is sadly mistaken. Maybe you could take care of one of the kids off the motherfucking TV, but you cannot take care of an American child with $200 or $300 funky ass dollars a month. So get your ass a second or third or fourth job so that you can do the right thing. Okay? And that's parent to fucking parent. All right. So now this next week's topic is what? Oh, and this is an oldie but a goodie because really I feel like everybody talks about this shit. But I want to talk about relationships and dating specifically. And there's plenty of shit to talk about when it comes to relationships and dating. And first of all, I would love to have a guest next week for relationships and dating because I don't do either. So I would love to have someone come through, whether you're single and dating, right? Or whether you're, if you're married and dating, you're foul, but it's whatever. But yes, I want to talk to someone or several someones about their relationship or they're dating, and maybe you have a horror story about a date, or maybe you have like a love connection about some shit that or about a relationship that you had or have that came from some dating shit. So some of those topics in reference to dating are dating married individuals, right? Are you currently dating somebody married? Are you married and dating folks? Or do you really despise that idea of dating married folks that, people should be dating married folks? Dating apps are the worst. But yeah, dating apps. I want to talk about dating apps. And perhaps y'all know which ones are promising and which ones are not for dating, but just for sex. Because I think the dating ones end up being for pussy. And another topic is blind dates, because that can be interesting, and speed dating, because I'm super interested in that as well. And then a question, as far as dating goes, is sex on the first date. And is that some shit that now in 2021, is that like what people do that's now acceptable versus like, 20 years ago, that was kind of, I would say it was a little bit taboo maybe. Or maybe that was just me ish. But I feel like the idea of the first day used to be something that people like, oh no. And now I feel like it's probably more acceptable. So I want to know, actually. I want to know. I'm going to pose that question. I want to know, are people throwing pussy like confetti on the first fucking date? I'm interested in seeing what the fucking response will be for that. So, yes, participate in this week's poll so that I can know whether or not that is what is going on these days. And so this is the part of the show, because we're running out of time, that is for yes or no questions on relationships or dating. So you can ask me one yes or no question. I mean, you could pose several, right? But I'm only going to answer one yes or no question as it relates to relationships and dating. So go ahead and fire. Otherwise, I'll pick my own rando question that I wrote in case I had no observers. But yes, one yes or no question about relationships and dating. No takers? Okay, I'll pick my own. So I write like what, five random yes or no questions about dating, and I'll just pick one, and then so I only will answer yes or no to the question, and then I will elaborate on the response next week. So my question is, have I ever dated interracially as an adult? Damn. No, I have not. No. That's my final answer to that one. No, I have not dated interracially as an adult, and I will elaborate on that more next week. Perhaps that's a question that I'll put. Well, honestly, I feel like a lot of people interracially date, but so I don't know if I'll pose that question. Anywho, thank you for joining me this evening. I appreciate those of you that showed up live, those of you that will watch later. Thank you. Follow us on Twitter at GoldfaceFamily, the number 1. You can follow us on Instagram at GoldfaceFamilyApparel. Or you can, obviously, if you are on our YouTube, you can subscribe, like, subscribe, and follow us, and then set up your notifications. On Instagram, they're about to cut me off, so thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week. Take the poll, like, share, follow us. I appreciate you joining me. Come back next week. Oh, shit. See ya. Okay. Oh shit, my bad. I'm all fucked up on YouTube. Yeah, so share, follow, subscribe, set up your notifications for the show next week so that you can join us next week when we discuss relationships and dating. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week. You guys have a good evening.